streaming. Google Plus was so much better. Hello, welcome to BS Busters, and thank you for another cast. Um, for those of you joining live, thank you. For those of you who watch the later on, thank you as well. Um, on the BS Busters podcast, we basically talk about video games, pop culture, video game culture, all that type of stuff. Business, video game business stuff, all that type of jazz. With that being said, before I go any further, I'd like my co-host to introduce himself. Go ahead, sir.
This is Koshi Von Bucha here to say summer is almost over already.
That's true. It'll be over in summer. Will be over in almost a month, because officially
Yep.
the autumnal equinox is September 24th, 25th. So astrologically, that'll be the end of summer. Anyway, with that
Yep.
being said, it's Mr. Red Fox, owner, proprietor, BS Busters, and we have not a huge slate of topics, but a decent enough amount. Uh, we have three main topics and our usual segments that we always have on this cast, which is free topic and hot takes. So, our first topic is, um, oh shit, we got more than that. I put it in my feed. I didn't put it in the topic summary. So, for those of you who don't know, well, I'll save this for the free topic. As we all know, Baldur's Gate 3 has come out and basically curb stomped a lot of other games. Uh, like a ridiculously a lot of other games. Embarrassed a lot of developers. Okay, they got caught with their pants
Yeah,
down and their junk, uh, what hanging out.
that's what happened. Yeah. Yeah, they were and they were not too happy about it.
Yeah, they were like, "Why is this? This is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed." And I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't. I don't know what to say." So much so that there's a roundup of what some of the legendary developers had to say about this, and I thought that we would hear what we would read what they had to say and enjoy some of the
Yep.
salty. Well, these are from people who have creds. These aren't from AAA developers who just spent their time shitting on people's stuff. So let's get it started. So Mike Laidlaw, for those of you who don't know, he was the BioWare lead writer, lead designer, creative director. He worked on Jade Empire, Mass Effect, and the Dragon Age series. So he's got some street cred. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Currently, he's working on Yellow Brick Games, and he's the chief creative officer over there. Okay. Anyway, let's get to what he has to say. All right. If you ask me, Baldur's Gate 3 is a triumph. The through line of robust world interactions and fun turn-based combat is obvious from the Divinity Original Sin games, and the way the team have managed to weave the themes and even some of the characters of the originals into an all-new story is very impressive. I'm not actively playing D&D 5th edition, but this interpretation of the rules feels robust. I took my glasses off because there's some schmutz on them. That's not in the thing. Robust and lets me pull off some pretty cool stunts, mixing jumps and so on into combat. And that makes the space feel very alive. That, and I never tire of having Karlak chuck half the room's furniture directly into the boss's face. The little details still get me, though. A cow who, thanks to my habitual use of speak to animals, reminds me that I should try grass, or the poor terrified chicken who just yells escape in the goblin camp. These moments bring the world to life. My only complaint is that I always want to wash my face when I change for bed. Skincare is very important, folks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, I just got Karlak. She's an interesting character.
Yeah. Jeff Gardner, The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 76. Not really a arc de triumph, a tour de triumph right there. He's
Yeah.
Bethesda Game Studios lead producer. He used to be. Now he's with Something Wicked Games. He's the founder, and his next game is Word Song, or Weird Song. My expectations for Baldur's Gate 3 could not have been higher. I grew up playing D&D, DMing campaigns, and musty basements for most of my beginning. After getting my master's degree, instead of looking for a job, I obsessively played Baldur's Gate 2. I'd wake up in the morning, order Domino's pizza and 4 liters of Diet Coke, and proceed to play for 16 hours straight, for 8 days straight. Within an hour booting up BG3, Larian had only met my unrealistically high expectations, but far exceeded them. Baldur's Gate 3 is a masterpiece. I am constantly astonished by the level of detail, the choices, the tactical decisions in combat, the attention to character models, the VFX, and the way everything comes together. It's a very marvelous, magical masterpiece that immediately suspends my disbelief every second I'm playing. I'm as obsessed with it as I was with Baldur's Gate 2. I'm running a solo campaign as well as a separate campaign playing co-op with my wife. In both campaigns, we're playing as mostly good characters. And despite that, because of the way the persuasion system works and the amount of subtlety in the decisions you make, we are experiencing vastly different games. These aren't just pinch points that are common in most RPGs. These are vast differences that build up over time. It's a real marvel to behold in a masterclass of RPG design. Okay, I'm gonna editorialize. Actually, what Larian is doing with the different how they put the quest in, that's how Interplay, Black Isle Studios, and like those Interplay, Obsidian, the studios who would later become Obsidian, and the studio that made Vampire the Masquerade, stuff like that. That's how that's old school RPG design right there. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. An example of this spiraling, branching decision making is something that happens about halfway through Act 1. So if you haven't gotten here, this is a massive spoiler. I don't care. Most people should have gotten to this point by now. At this point, you're confronted with a goblin camp. Most of the D&D I played was 2nd edition, where you were taught that you go in spells, blazing, screaming, kill them all. However, if you do that in BG3, you end up in a precarious situation that usually ends in a party wipe. Learning this the hard way, I decided to proceed with caution. I talked to several people, and there are so many ways to approach the camp, but I decided to walk up to the front gates and charm my way in. Despite succeeding in all my roles, the goblin asked me to do something. He asked me to rub shit on my face. Not only shit, but ward shit. So grimacing, I proceeded to do so. My character model for the next several hours had a big schmear, crusted turd running down his face. Not only that, but I proceeded to be ridiculed and mocked by every goblin in the camp. This level of detail and thoughtfulness is put into every corner of the game. I'm thrilled by wonderful RPGs. I'm thrilled that this game exists, and I cannot wait to play it more. Larian deserves all the praise and success being heaped upon them. Okay. Now,
the thing about the Goblin Camp is really the only way to take them. If you want an easier time taking the Goblin Camp out, you gotta take out the leaders first. There's ways to do that without getting into a fight. But once you take out the leaders, it's a lot easier to deal with them.
Or if you're playing an evil character, you can side with the goblins and take out the other half of that equation. But yeah. I didn't play as an evil character, so yeah. I never play evil characters in D&D campaigns because it's easy. It's easy. It's the easy way to do things. Sometimes it's hard to be the good character. Or I normally do chaotic good. I'm not like lawful good or any of that shit. Anyway, Josh Sawyer. Now, for those of you, Josh Sawyer, this guy's got some creds behind him, okay? Now, Icewind Dale 1 and 2, Fallout New Vegas, Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, Pentiment. His past was Black Isle Studios' lead designer. Currently, he works as Obsidian Entertainment Studio Design Director. Now, I'm going to take this guy's got some street cred. He basically worked on the games that directly influenced this one. So listen to what he has to say. Okay, so he says, I'm still making my way through Act 1 content, but I think I've seen enough to form some basic thoughts. The production values are crazy high, especially for a party-based D&D CRPG of this scope. I can see their dialogue trees in my mind's eye, and even if a lot of the cinematic setup for those conversations are automated, it's a massive amount of work to stage them. At its core, it still feels very much like an evolution of Divinity Original Sin 2 using the 5e rule set. The tone of the story and the campaigns feels spot on for a Baldur's Gate game. Mostly light and fun with dark elements thrown in for a gleefully wicked edge. As with Divinity Original Sin 2, the level of interactivity in the world is extremely high, and being able to work yourself out of or into tight corners by fiddling with the rules is a lot of fun. I think there are only two areas of real criticism I have. One is that the UI can feel clumsy and clunky for a lot of actions. There's so many contextual
Yeah.
actions you can perform on objects that the menus can get overloaded. And a lot of those actions are never tutorialized. The camera also continues to be a weak spot. I admit it's a personal and professional bias, but when I'm fighting the camera just to navigate a space or avoid misclicking on a faraway location, it's not an enjoyable experience. The other is a bit more pervasive, but the way things like conversations and other interactions work in a single player feels significantly compromised by supporting a specific type of untethered multiplayer experience. For example, the lack of straightforward, easily accessible pause button in the single player is extremely jarring, especially considering how easy it is to accidentally start character pathing toward a distant location via a dangerous route. Also, the way that conversations can be entered with lagging characters hovering in the background because they're a few steps outside of the radius feels unnecessarily penalizing for someone who's trying to go with the flow of the single-player campaign. One more thought. I really like how consumables, e.g. scrolls, and others that can affect dialogue are incorporated into dialogue checks. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I think it works really well in BG3.
Yeah, I will agree with him about the UI and the camera. Sometimes you do. Sometimes the camera is can be your worst enemy.
Oh yeah, I mean that's an issue with a lot of games. Like that's one of my major issues with the 3D Mario games, except for 3D World, is that your greatest enemy, like Mario Odyssey, your greatest enemy aren't the enemies or the bosses. It's that damn camera. Um,
The fact, the fact that it's super. I think. Well, like I said, I don't really know much about game development, but it seems like the camera's got to be one of the hardest things to implement.
well, yeah, and the thing is like there isn't enough player testing because a lot of the people who test these games have played the game so much that the inherent flaws like that are like t- tertiary
Yeah.
or even like on a fourth level become like you begin to ignore them or minimize them, whereas to someone who's just playing the game who hasn't been testing it for like a year straight or more, they're gonna be like, damn, I'm enjoying the game, but this damn camera though.
Yeah.
Then we have Lise Moberly. She worked on About Hogwarts Legacy, Curse to Golf, and Singularity. She used to work at Obsidian Entertainment. She was a WB Games writer and narrative designer, and currently she's unemployed because it says TBA, which means I'm unemployed. What is most striking to me is how Baldur's Gate has taken part in the wave of plague narratives embraced by fantasy games in the last year, particularly among RPGs. While Baldur's Gate 3 was in development long before the pandemic, the concept of mass infection and its consequences cannot help but be recontextualized for this generation of players. At their core, plague narratives contrast the possible of loss of life with loss of our personhood. The abundance of dialogue checks reflects this idea of loss amid infection immediately. In many RPGs, it is common to see no more than one or two checks in dialogue choice bank, which often leads players to select them by default. Some games temper this impulse by ensuring that selecting a unique option does not always guarantee a positive result. However, BG3 pulls back on this impulse and then proceeds to tip it over the edge. Larian provides an avalanche of ways to persuade, intimidate, and use your experience as a specific species or class in each choice bank of all significant conversations. This accurately reflects the narrative Baldur's Gate 3 has woven. Infection and plague happen in more than one way. It is a physical, psychological, and relational. As Jill Lepore wrote so aptly of the plague narratives for the New Yorker in 2020, reading is an infection, a burrowing in the brain. Books contaminate metaphorically, even microbiologically. And as players, that infection is something we want. The conversations of BG3 make us feel powerful. It is the same experience our character is having as they embrace or resist the infection bird within them. In this way, BG3's conversion system reflects the story it tells. Like all plague narratives, the crux of your experience in this game is a choice to risk your physical life or risk who you are as a person by succumbing to the power and control you hold. I mean, this isn't really a spoiler because it happens in the beginning of the game. You've been infected by
An infilid.
illithid tadpole, okay?
Yeah.
One of their fucking spawn. Basically, the beginning of the game has you getting impregnated by a facehugger, okay? Except,
Some sort of Lovecraftian nightmare creature.
yeah, except the only difference is that due to some circumstances from another faction of illithid led by a crazy illithid, they're basically halting your transformation into an illithid. It's basically some shit that Larian pulled out of their ass to give you special powers and make you special. I call it the Dragon Age Warden ability. It's like the Grey Warden thing coming on again. Because for anyone who played Dragon Age Origins, your character ingests the blood from a darkspawn. Which, here's the thing: if you ingest the blood of a darkspawn, you'll probably turn into a darkspawn. But for very few, they become Grey Wardens.
Yeah.
So for you, anyone else, they just turn into an illithid. You're special.
Well, it isn't even just that you're the special character, because there's a lot of people that have the tadpole that are part of this cult called the Absolute. So, whatever this creature is doing, or whatever this wizard or being is doing, is trying to
Subvert the normal
absorb.
culture
they're
of
using
illithids.
magic. Yeah, they're using magic to use to control people and create this cult called the Absolute. Although that was,
There's something like, hey, put this way.
but,
There's something. Look, never trust an illithid. The only good illithid. I've only seen one work of fiction where illithids were a group that I would actually follow, and that was just one time. Anyway, continuing with this article, and the game makes it clear who you are as a person is understood by the relationships you choose to build. Your companions demonstrate this through the reactivity you see and the choices made throughout the game. It's my personal opinion that reactivity is the most pointed when the player has spent the most time with or impacted. This forces the player and the companion to reorient their relationship to reflect the player's actions. Whereas many would assume reactivity to the larger in-game choices or regional decisions the player made feel the most impacted, Larian reminds us it's the companion's reactions to smaller scale choices made in side quests or world content that deal significant blows. Because our companions were watching. After all, our choices carry the most weight when they impact the people we love. Finally, we have Jeff Vogel. He worked on Exile, Geneforge, and Queen's Wish. He's the Spiderweb software founder. Spiderweb software, for those who don't know, made some of the ugliest, most basic bitch CRPGs of all time, but they kept their budgets under control and made money, so they're still here after like almost 20 years. 30 years. Writing indie games for 30 years let me have a lot of perspective. Baldur's Gate 2 came out in 2000. It was a classic. Back then I told people, hey, go ahead and play Baldur's Gate 2 before my games. It's really good, and my games will still be there when you're done. His games were... Look, I've played a lot of Spiderweb games. Geneforge 2, they are some basic bitch computer RPGs, and that's all I'm going to say on that. Baldur's Gate 3 is... Like, if the Temple of Elemental Evil and Icewind Dale 1 and 2 and Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2 are like the top tier, and you've got your hidden gems like Arcanum, stuff like that, and then you got like the third tier shit. That was Jeff Vogel's Spiderweb software game. Anyway, when I was just starting out in business, I freaked out whenever other RPGs came out because I was terrified of competition. Then I found out when a hit RPG came out, it never affected my sales at all because your games are bottom of the barrel. I realized that successful RPGs make more RPG fans, which helps all of us developers. When you see an ad for Baldur's Gate 3, it's not just selling the game; it's selling the whole idea of playing single-player RPGs. Baldur's Gate 3 is turning into a phenomenon, and I couldn't be more thrilled. Larian really knows what they're doing. Our next game, Geneforge 2 Infestation, will be out in March, which should be perfect timing. 6 months and Baldur's Gate 3 came out 6 months before they announced their DLC. It also can use the tradition of my business. I spent years stealing ideas from Baldur's Gate 2. Now I can spend years feeding off the new title. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. At least he's honest. Hey, man, I wish more developers stole ideas from good games and not bad games.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
You know, steal the good shit, not the bad shit.
Yeah, it'd be nice if these publishers would be like, hey, let's just make a $60 or $70 game that doesn't have microtransactions and DLC. Let's steal that idea. Let's go back to the old ways.
No, we ain't. No, see, you're asking too many good. See, that's hard. That's hard. Don't ask. See. You're asking a lot of questions.
I mean, a game with replay value that that's complete. I mean, it doesn't have to be as lengthy and as dense as Baldur's Gate, but
And not a lot of
you give people,
microtransactions. I mean, that's
yeah,
just. I mean, who are you to ask for such things? How dare you, sir? How dare you? You should be ashamed of asking for something like that. How dare you, sir? We all should. How dare we ask for games to come out and not nickel and dime us to death? What are we thinking? That's not modern gaming. Um, Next we have Epic. Anything you want to add before we move on to the next topic, sir?
yeah. I think I hope this game wins Game of the Year. Hope it doesn't get snubbed because I know some of the bigger publishers, uh, bitching about the success of this game. I think they're gonna try to do their damnedest to try to, especially when it comes to the bigger award shows, gonna try to make it so it gets snubbed. But
Here's
yeah,
what
I
I'm gonna
mean,
say. Um, about that. Uh, I personally think that it's either going to be this game or Starfield.
yeah,
Or what they might do is pull an upset and finagle it and say, well, Game of the Year is actually the expansion for Cyberpunk 2077 because it completely revamped that game into what closer to what it should have been from the start. Some shit like that. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I just know that because when
I'm
Overwatch got Game of the Year, that just a few years ago, it's kind of changed a lot of things. A lot of
What,
people just
Overwatch?
need, yeah,
Yeah, but the first Overwatch, especially when it first came out, was really good, though.
yeah. I know it was good, but it's changed how companies were approaching games. Sort of this game that just never ends. That
Games as a service,
people
well,
keep
they
trying.
end. They end when people are
Yeah,
like, yeah, we're not going to support this anymore. We got to move the servers over to some other bullshit.
yeah, yeah.
like
Especially,
like Activision just killed Overwatch 1 and then took the skeleton of it and put it into Overwatch 2 with this bullshit ass single player.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah, but like I said, I think Game of the Year is going to be between four games: Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, and they might try to finagle it into Cyberpunk 2077's DLC. Sorry, expansion.
yeah.
Anyway, speaking of people trying to do some shady shit, Epic Games, Epic Games, Epic Games is trying to get more games to pimp out so that people will go to their shitty platform. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't bought a game for Epic Games all year long. Or last year either. I just go there for the free shit.
Yep.
I really I don't know how they're making money because I know I'm not spending it there. I wait till shit comes on Steam or GOG. Those are my preferred platforms to buy shit.
Yeah.
So basically, Epic has decided to go with a new program called First Run, where they're offering 100% split for the first 6 months that a game is on their system.
Wow.
Yeah, the games have to be mostly exclusive for those 6 months, or maybe a year. I don't know. So
That's crazy.
well, you know why they're doing this? Because Steam is still kicking their ass.
Yeah, people want everything on Steam.
Well, because Steam is a bigger marketplace. It's like if you are a small market seller, okay, and you make a product, right, and you only have 12 employees, would you rather sell your product at um like would you rather sell your product at like a mom and pop store? Yeah, you're guaranteed to get 6 or 7 sales at the mom and pop store because it's small. Or would you rather have your shit in the supermarket? Now there's more competition in the supermarket, but if you get a dedicated fan base, you get more you make more sales.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty simple. But, Epic isn't going to mention that because Epic is, Tim Sweeney is kind of a two-faced piece of shit, in my opinion. Um, but, to each his own.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts on this?
Uh, but a lot of these publishers don't, or a lot of these storefronts don't understand. These alternative storefronts don't understand. It's like it took Steam 20 years to get where they're at, and they want to do it in like they want to do it in like 5.
Yeah,
They
well, I
want to do
mean,
it
it's
like
like
7 years.
WB when they saw Iron Man, when they saw the Marvel Cinematic Universe jump off. Like, we need a universe too. It's like, but you do realize there were years of shitty movies like Daredevil and
And
and Ang Lee's The Hulk and Ghost Rider. It's like they just pop out. Yeah, look at this universe we created. They had to build up to that shit, you know, you know. Anyway, what were you
yeah,
saying?
yeah, it's just it took it it took them a while to get there, and they just want people to just start flocking over their service. It's like you're not really offering anything that Steam isn't offering. And I get it. They want all the money. They want they want all the money. They just don't want to. They don't want to split that 30%. But same time, it's like 30% uh the split compared to building and maintaining the infrastructure. Uh,
Exactly. Like
that's
they
more money you end up spending.
yeah they're taking 30%, but you're getting yeah you're paying 30%, but guess what? You're getting a lot of stuff. Like Steam has basically built this infrastructure that lets your shit be sold. You get to use their servers to host your stuff. You know,
Yeah.
your stuff is being constantly updated. Your shit can run on other people's stuff. It's stuff like that where people are like, okay, like I don't want to pay. It's like, well, fine then, make your own marketplace and you do it yourself. See how long that
Yeah.
shit'll last for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, that's my opinion. Anything else you want to add before we move on to the next topic?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. So let's keep it moving. I think we'll dive into BioWare. So BioWare laid off 50 employees. Which you're like, a lot of these companies lay off people. That's no big thing. But here's the thing. There's always more. Most of the people they laid off were the people who unionized.
Um,
So clearly this is not clearly this is a form of retaliation, which
yeah.
the NLRB was created to fight against.
Yeah.
Um, not to mention BioWare shouldn't have to fire anybody when they just gave they just gave half of they just basically sold off the maintenance and upkeep for the Old Republic to another studio.
Yeah.
So clearly this was, this was some bullshit.
Yeah.
All right.
They didn't want them unionizing, huh?
No, you see a lot of union busting going on. That's not really surprising.
Yeah.
Not really surprising at all.
So the Pinkertons had to come in and drag a bunch of people out, huh?
I'm not going to go that far, but clearly, it's clear. Look, man. Look, listen. We knew that EA. See, here's the thing. EA is not smart. Okay. Neither is Activision. They were waiting until people's attention was on something else, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we got it now." It's like, I was expecting this. Because companies like you to be broke, poor, and desperate.
Yeah. So where were you going? Because you won't need them as much if you're.
It's like, I don't have to take this and just leave, right? They want you they want you at the point where you have to take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can't. They want you to be like, you can't survive without it.
Yeah.
you need it.
Come here. We're gonna fuck you over. We're gonna give you low place wages. We're gonna put your health at risk. And what are you gonna do? We pay you just enough to keep you coming back in.
They're like abusive spouses. It's like, I'm all you have. There's no one else is gonna love you.
And what are you gonna do? That's basically. Now, the thing is, it's like with the way shit has been going in America, unions have actually had a resurgence, and they should, because the American workers are waking up to the fact that they're getting fucked with no loop. What are you gonna do about it?
They're not even giving you dinner first.
No, look, to be honest with you, I don't want anyone. Not only do I not anyone to fuck me, I don't want anyone doing anything to me. But if you're gonna do it, at least use some lube. Do something. Shit, don't just try to just do it. Shit, do something. But that's basically the world we're living in right now. So, functionally speaking, these people are treating us like we are, not me personally. I own my bit. I don't work for people. But when I did work for people, that's what's going on here. All right. And EA is in Activision. It's union busting, is what it is. Okay. And here's the thing. They're working on Dragon Age Dreadwolf and a new Mass Effect game. This is the time where they need more people working on shit. Yep. Like, if there ever was a time to have more people working, now's the time. Because they're... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they think people are stupid. They're like, oh, you dumb.
Yeah. I don't think that game. The new Dragon Age game is just. Oh. That game is probably in so much trouble.
Yeah, the more I hear about it, where they're like, yeah, like I heard that, they like it's a step back even from the previous game. I'm like, I can't be into this.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, I always tell people this. I'm like, Dragon Age Origin is one of the best games ever made. Uh,
Yeah.
like RPGs. Dragon Age 2, not very good. Dragon Age 3, also not very good. I know there are people who like that game, but mm,
Yeah.
get better taste. Because Dragon Age 2 is trash. And Inquisition isn't good either.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, so what are your thoughts on this coordinated uh, union busting is what it is?
Um. These companies just are. It's either their way or no way. It's either their way or you're out the door. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame things have to be this way.
It didn't have to be this way.
You were supposed to you were supposed to balance the force to save the Jedi, not destroy them to destroy the Sith. You were the chosen one. Anyway, my point is that I'm not I'm not how can I put this nicely? I don't support nor do I agree with um, what they've been doing. And I think gamers see the thing is gamers don't want to make a stand because gamers are like fucking drug addicts. As long as they get to play their games, they don't care. You know what I mean? Like as long as they get to, you know, as long as they get their fucking Battlefield and their Star Wars games or whatever, they you know. Whereas you know, me personally, if something is trash, I'm not gonna play it. Like
Yeah.
if
Exactly.
I hear that a studio is fucking over their employees, I'm not gonna buy their games because I'm like, why? Because it's like I'm rewarding bad behavior because studios are like kids. If a kid does something fucked up and they don't get punished or reprimanded or guided into better behavior, and you just say, oh no, well they're just a kid and they get away with it, they'll keep on doing it because they got away with it.
Yeah.
There was no punishment. And businesses, you can't beat up a business, but you can damn sure make sure they don't get your money. Anyway, uh, let's keep it moving. Um, some lighter news before we get into free topic slash unpopular opinion. Night Dive Studio just did a amazing thing, like freaking amazing. Like you would never be surprised. You'd be completely surprised. They took a 23-year-old game and made it feel like a straight up modern game, and it was Turok 3.
Interesting.
Yes.
So did they remake it from the ground up or?
I mean, it still looks like an N64 game. It's the prettiest N64 game you'll ever see, but it, you know,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that. Is there a video of it? Did they just?
I think they remade it from the ground up because it looks way better than it looks way better than the N64. Like there's like they put this way, there's a handful of games that I think look really good on the N64. I would say Conker's Bad Fur Day with the expansion pack looks pretty good on the N64. I would say that Donkey Kong Country 64 on the with the expansion pack looks really, really good on the N64. Majora's Mask with the expansion pack looks really good on the N64.
Yeah.
Perfect Dark looks really good with the expansion pack on the N64. Um, Notice like most of those are rare games.
Yeah.
Most of those are rare games. Anyway, I like the system. All right, I'm probably gonna get this game because I have Turok 1 and 2, so I'll probably get Turok 3 on Steam. Because I actually do like N64 first person shooters. Even though, like, even back in the day, I'm like, this would be great if I had a mouse and keyboard. Uh, anyway, with that being said, let's keep it moving. Some more light news. Amazon's Fallout TV show is coming out next year, and it's set in Los Angeles. So, it's Fallout, Los Angeles, where dreams come true, but it's like a nuclear wasteland Fallout. My only thing is this gonna, like, since it's set on the West Coast, it'll be more in the vein of the original Fallout and not Bethesda's Fallout games, which I think are fucking trash. Um,
Yeah.
so Fallout 3, Fallout 76, and Fallout 4, hot buttered ass, in my opinion. Um, that's just my opinion. With that being said, let's keep it moving. Um, to free topic, aka unpopular opinion. Let's see if anyone has any comments. No comments? Okay. Unpopular opinion, aka free topic. You want to go first, sir?
Um. Yeah, I guess there's one thing I would say about one last thing I'll probably say about the line stuff. It's just if you're getting in the, um getting into this YouTube stuff, just always make sure I have uh good accountability, because it's easy to get lost in the sauce and become pressured by the algorithm and just become you know and um yeah, essentially just lose yourself, and to the point where you kind of where you start to forget why people actually came to your channel in the first place. So
That's fair.
that's it.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, that's fair. That's fair. Um, my free topic is not so much about Linus. It's actually something that's near and dear to my heart. For those of you who may or may not know this, I am a huge audiophile. I collect vinyl. Um, I really like listening to music. I also like video game music. Video game music got me into a lot of music styles that I normally wouldn't listen to. My parents were older when they had me, so I listened to the old shit they listened to. So R&B, jazz, funk, disco, rock, prog rock, shit like that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. One of my favorite. This is an unpopular opinion. I think one of my favorite video game composers. Most people, when they think video game composer, they think Koji Kondo. That's the guy who did the music for Super Mario and Legend of Zelda and shit like that. But I think there's someone who's even better than Koji Kondo.
Who's that?
David Wise.
Oh yeah, I mean, Donkey Kong music is pretty good.
David Wise, I think, is a better video game composer than Koji Kondo, because Koji Kondo's stuff is a simplistic melody that's meant to be heard a lot over and over again without being annoying, which is fine for a Mario level or I think his Legend of Zelda games where he does the arrangements and the scores are a little bit more because he's allowed to stretch himself out and be a little bit more creative. But David Wise, like, if you take David Wise's music I think his music, like, if you listen to his music, I think you will never have, you're never going to listen to something as well put together. Like, if you listen to a game that has David Wise's music, if you take David Wise's music out that game, the game is diminished.
Yeah.
And this guy did music for Battletoads, Snake Rattle and Roll, Saberwolf, Donkey Kong Country, Battletoads Double Dragon. Like, basically, if you hear a David Wise tune, like, it's almost like he made that song for that level. And if that song wasn't in that level, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And you just don't get that. You just don't get that with a lot of other games. You don't get that level of dedication. And the cool thing about David Wise is he's very cool about it. He's not like a jackass about it.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty nice. Agree, disagree. That's my unpopular opinion. I think David Wise I think he's the superior video game music composer, even above Koji Kondo.
Yeah, I would agree. For the most part, I feel like, especially when you play Donkey Kong games versus the Mario games, those songs do sound a bit more technical, and it sounds like there's a lot more going on in them versus Mario games, which isn't bad music. I mean, they get Zelda, of course, is probably a little bit more technical because there's just what they're going for. But yeah, and it just feels like there's a lot of stuff going on in that music. Or a lot more going on, I should say.
Fair. Anyway, yeah, like I said, and if you ever want to hear some really good video game music, listen to anything from David Wise. David Wise's shit is amazing.
Yeah.
You will never hear anything better than David Wise.
Yeah.
But that's my own personal opinion. Some people are going to get mad when they hear that. But yeah. Agree, disagree. If you guys have any thoughts, share who you think does the best video game music. In your humble opinion.
I think I would say they're the best, but I think person who does the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack and the person who does the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack is
Final Fantasy VII. That's I know who you're talking about. He did like the music for most of the Final Fantasies up to like 10.
Yeah. Chrono Trigger soundtrack also.
That's Yasunori Matsuda. The thing about Yasunori Matsuda is that I think the best work he did was Final Fantasy was Chrono Trigger. Because if you listen to the shit he did after Chrono Trigger, not as good as Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. Xenoblade Chronicles too. I don't know if that's the same guy.
Some of the tunes are his, but it like even the best themes in that, I'm like, this is nice, but it's not Chrono Trigger good.
Yeah, yeah. But some of the arrangements in that soundtrack pay nods to Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, yeah.
There are times when it sounded just like the opening.
Yeah, it's
like Chrono's theme.
yeah.
So
It's got kind of nods to that, but it's just not at that level. Cause you know that guy almost like collapsed from exhaustion while working on that. That was his first game. I think he spent his creative load on that one on that game because he hasn't ever really gone beyond that since then. Um, yeah, I know some people are gonna get mad. Oh, it's like, look, man, I'm just telling you, okay? It's okay. Listen. What? Go ahead.
it is the most. It is one of the most memorable OSTs of that era.
I mean, I would say of all the 16-bit tunes, I would like. No, actually, I would go further than that. I would say Chrono Trigger has the best music of any SquareSoft / Square Enix game. Better than all the Final Fantasies. Better than Secret of Mana. Uh, Better than Front Mission. Better than Bahamut Lagoon. Like all those games have certain tracks that are like awesome, but I think Chrono Trigger, almost every song in that game is astonishingly well crafted. Like Chrono's theme is great. The opening theme is great. Every character's theme fits that character. Like when you're in the forest, it sounds peaceful. When you go to Minoria Cathedral to find the real Queen Lean. Sorry, not the real Queen Lean. What's her name? Yeah, the real Queen Lean. And you have to play that theme in order to get into the hidden area of the Minoria Cathedral and fight the monsters and shit. I'm like, this is haunting music. It's great. Everything about that game is great. The boss themes are great. You know, Magus's theme. You know, you go to Magus's castle and you're fighting your way through, and it starts playing his theme. You know, like, oh shit, the music's swelling. And you know, the thing is like that game, the soundtrack for that game on the SNES was compromised because it was supposed to be orchestrated, but they didn't have the memory for it, so they had to digitize it. You can get a CD of the orchestrated, arranged version of that music, and it's even better. It's so much better. But yeah. But I mean, I would give it to him. But like I said, that's like his best stuff right there. Like he didn't really. You know, didn't really get better. Anyway, anything you want to add before we wrap things until we move on? Anything you want to add to free topic, unpopular opinion before we wrap things up?
No, I'm good.
All right. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters. That's the end of the cast. If you want to get in touch with the channel, you can reach me at Mr. Red Fox BS @gmail.com. You could also reach me on the Discord, which is in the description section. You can also reach me via the chat section. But that's the end of the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Anything you want to pimp out before we wrap things up, sir?
Project Console Tuesday 6:30, 7:30. So it's typically about an hour long. Sometimes it goes shorter. Sometimes it go longer, just depending on the
The
topic.
topics, yeah, the topics.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end that's the end of the pod. Peace. Good night, and play your games.
See you later.